Well, this here is the Jaguar XJ50. Now officially, it takes on the likes of the Mercedes S-Class as well as the BMW 7 Series, but I think this one looks a lot more stylish and a lot more dramatic on the outside than all those other rivals. But which one do you think looks best? Do let me know in the comments below. And before I give you a review of this car, let me just give you a small request, or make a small request, and that is that please follow me on Instagram. My handle is AshishMasi1, splashing below your screen. It's also in the description below. Also follow me on Twitter as well as Facebook. Well, as soon as you step inside the cabin of the Jaguar XJ, you're greeted with a digital dial display over here. It's a completely digital display, and of course when you switch off the car, it goes all dark, which can be a bit eerie for some people. But if you switch on the ignition, you have a nice display back on. Now in terms of the equipment, this car gets all the bells and whistles. Remember, it is a car which costs upward of 1 crore, so you get all the bells and whistles like its other rivals. You get massage seats even in the front, as well as a host of other features. The quality is pretty good as well. It's at par with its other rivals, and even the wood used is of very good quality. Special mention has to be made about the Meridian sound system here. If you ever get a chance to visit a Jaguar dealership and sit inside a car, you should definitely turn up the volume, because the stereo is brilliant, absolutely brilliant in terms of sound delivery. Now let's talk about a couple of negatives as well. The first is that the screen here, its fonts as well as its touch isn't very good. It's decent, but not at par with its rivals. It's slightly behind the BMW iDrive system as well as the Mercedes system, and also the switches just below it, they're quite okay in isolation, but when you compare it with its rivals, and when you compare and consider the price of this car, these switches could have been better. But on the plus side, the seats are plush, the cabin feels plush, and it also has very nice touches like this nice touch point to open up the glove box. It's a soft opening glove box, and as I just said, it's not a button, it is a touch point which opens access to the glove box. So overall, I would give it 8 out of 10. Just that this whole navigation and infotainment system could have been slightly better, and the buttons here could have been in better quality, and this car would have got better points. But I think it still feels like you're inside the suite of a 5-star hotel. It is that good. Well, here I'm inside the back seat of the XJ, and I have to say that in terms of the space, this car really is brilliant. You can see legroom is massive. Headroom also is generous. Even if you're about 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", you should be okay in these seats. But there is a huge transmission tunnel in the middle, and that is something that all its other rivals have. So it's best for 2 occupants, as well as this huge center piece which divides both the occupants. Now, of course, if you stepped out after a very bad board meeting from an airline and you didn't like the food that they served, you can always have your own food and stop at the Starbucks and eat it here inside this car, because this car really has a nice and big tray. And also, to liven up things, you can turn up the television and the screen here and see whatever is on it. So in that sense, it is truly like the business class seat of an airliner, and truly a first class experience is waiting for you if you decide to jump inside the XJ's back seats. I would give this car a very strong score of 9 out of 10 in the backseat department. It has a great ambience, it has a very posh and upmarket feel, and it definitely is worth the price just for these 2 seats. Well, so the Jaguar XJ50 comes with a 3-liter diesel engine, but you'll really be hard pressed to tell if it's a diesel or a petrol powering the car. In fact, when I started it, I couldn't make out that it's a diesel. It is that refined and that quiet. It was just after I looked at the gauges here and I realized that the RPM only goes up to 4,500 that I realized that it is a diesel. Now you'll say, how did you look at the gauges and make that up? Well, ideally or normally in petrol cars, the red line is a lot higher. It's at about 6,500 RPM, 7,000 RPM, and in diesel cars, it goes only till about 4 or 4,500 RPM. So that's the easy way out to check what kind of fuel is powering the car. But you can also do that when you press the accelerator and if there's any kind of lag. Now there is a little bit of a lag in this engine, but it's not too prominent. It's quite okay. It's within acceptable limits, because that kind of lag is available, or it's present on all its other rivals as well. But the best part is the refinement. The second best part about the car, or the equally good part about the car, is its ride comfort. When you're driving around in the XJ, it just feels like you're riding on a cushion of air. It is that good. Yes, it is a very good car in terms of the ride comfort. If you're riding around in Delhi or the NCR or any other part of the country, you'll suddenly think that maybe all the municipal corporations have started doing a great job with the roads and the roads are all good and all manicured properly. But to be honest, the roads are still the same. It's just that you're driving in a car which offers you an exemplary ride, and that is something that the XJ truly managed to do. Now, special mention has to be made about the steering wheel of the XJ. Even though it is a relatively long car and it has a relatively long wheelbase, the steering wheel doesn't feel like it's slack or it's very unresponsive or it's lazy, because it has pretty good feedback. It feels pretty accurate for most of the part, and it just feels nice and communicative, considering that this is a big car. Now, mostly these things are or is something that the driver will tell you, because people who buy this car will ideally be sitting in the back 90% of the time. But should you want to drive on the weekend, on a Sunday or a Saturday, then this car will definitely put a smile on your face. And also, the good point is that the driver will not complain, and the driver, whoever is driving it, the chauffeur, will never say कि अरे सर BMW ले लेते, चलाने में तो अच्छी होती है. Nothing like that, because this car can easily take on the BMWs, the Audis and the Mercedes of the world and beat them at their own game. Now, what I particularly also liked about the car is the fact that the cabin seems cocooned from the world outside. The cabin isolation is simply awesome. There's no wind noise whatsoever. There's no tire noise. The engine noise, the diesel engine noise, is really a distant mum at the back. It's a distant hum, and people in the back won't be able to tell if the engine is on or off. It is that quiet. So the cabin isolation makes you feel like you're cocooned from the entire world outside. All the chaos and all the honking and everything just feels like it is at a very big distance, and you're simply sitting inside your own abode of peace and quiet, which the XJ truly is. Well, if you're lucky enough to have this kind of cash lying around and are in the market for a luxury sedan, then I would suggest that you open up your mind, move all the cobwebs as well as the rails, and just forget the German rivals and try something new. Try the Tata-owned Jaguar XJ, because it really is a sumptuous car in terms of the ride comfort, in terms of refinement, as well as an opulent and upmarket feel. And I'm sure that you'll enjoy it as much to own it and keep it in your driveway as much as I've enjoyed filming it today. Bye for now, and thanks for watching.